Welcome to Fly on the Wall podcast. I'm your host, Chris Sonkson, CEO and founder of Church Boom. Here you get to sit in on a live coaching session as I coach pastors through the ministry challenges we all face. If you find this podcast helpful, please make sure to like, subscribe, and share. Hey everyone, welcome to today's podcast. Talking with my buddy RJ from Iowa. We're talking about what is the next hire and who should be the next hire. That's an important part of growing as a church. When do we hire the next person? Who should we hire? What the next step should be in our staffing? So it's a great conversation. I know you're going to love it. Also, I want you to check out churchboom.org. If you've ever thought about becoming a coach, actually coaching other pastors, this could be for you. We have a Church Boom coaching certification you will absolutely love. It is practical. It helps pastors and leaders how to coach other pastors and help them grow their church and their ministry. It can be a second income for you or a second chapter in your life. So check out our coaching certification program. With that, let's jump into the conversation with my good buddy, RJ. Well, man, it's so awesome to have you, RJ. Thank you so much for all you do for the kingdom. You're growing a great church. You're very involved with helping to rescue churches and coaching churches and helping churches. And man, your partnership for Church Boom and all that, you're making a difference, man. You really are. And awesome. Your name comes up all the time. Everybody loves you. And so that's awesome. But let's jump into it. Let's jump into it. How can I serve you today? What's on your mind?
Cool. So I am kind of wrestling through my flow of the week and kind of that ideal work week for a lead pastor. Church plant, 2 years old, only full-time staff member. And I know you've connected with tons of ministry leaders across the nation, but just kind of looking to get better on my week to week, managing my energy better, my time. What should I be doing? What should I be delegating? And kind of looking to more focus and lock in on what I need to lock in on. So yeah, I thought I'd come to the pro.
Yeah. Well, excuse me, I don't know about that, but have you gone through the exercise that we do of Mission Critical? Have you figured that out for you?
That
Well, that is a great one. I'll do the kind of the paraphrase version, especially because you're a church plant. You've been going for 2 years. You've seen great growth, and I believe God with all my heart that you're going to see that over the next few years. When you talk about, you said, what should I be delegating? What should I be, doing? Priorities, all that stuff. I think one of the greatest exercises you can do, and I think it's on Church Boom University, but just to sharing the short version of it is there's kind of a target thing that I do where it's like mission critical, kind of like a target, like a bullseye playing darts.
Yeah.
Mission critical, highly important, meaningful, and external pressure. Mission critical is that target you're going after. And mission critical comes down to one sentence. If RJ doesn't do blank, our future's threatened. That's the thing where you start to figure out what is really mission critical. I mean, really mission critical for me to be doing. I got to be figuring out how to continue to provide resources and open up more resources for the church because finances could slow us down. I got to make sure that I'm casting vision all the time. I got to make sure I'm keeping it out in front of people. I'm the chief communicator. I got to make sure that I'm not only speaking on Sunday, but I'm sending out, what are the things that not only RJ can do, but the things that if you don't do them, the future is actually going to be threatened.
Yeah.
And that really separates things. Because if you're if you're a children's pastor and you're as I say you were a children's pastor, I was walking you through it. If I don't go to Costco and get the snacks, our future's threatened. That's not true. Mm-hmm. If I don't clean the room and get ready for Sunday, our future's threatened. That's not true. If I don't get the classroom's curriculum ready for the children's, that's not. If I don't build leaders, if I don't build teams, our future's threatened. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Because pastor's like, we're going to go to a second service, and you're sitting there as a children's pastor going, oh, I don't have enough leaders. I don't have enough volunteers. Yeah, because you've been doing these things that are not mission critical.
Yeah.
It's not that they're not important. I'm just saying that you don't need to do them. So what happens is, I'm giving you a very short version of it. What happens is we get pulled away, external pressure, Hey, Pastor RJ, why don't we do more for men? Why don't we do more for women? Why don't we do more for the homeless? Why don't we have longer worship? Why aren't we more intense? So that pulls you away from mission critical. Then you go to that next layer, meaningful. Those are the things you like to do, you enjoy doing, but they're not exactly mission critical. Then there's the highly important. Those are things that still need to get done. It just doesn't mean you're the only one that has to do them, but they do need to get done. Yeah. But then there's mission critical. That's the thing where it's about, you want to spend about 70% of your time on the mission critical. So instead of going through, you need to have time for your family, you need to have time for this. I mean, I can walk you through kind of that basic calendaring your life in a week kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But what really is more important is to come up with what I call the 3 or 4 lanes or the 3 or 4 buckets that are your mission critical. If RJ doesn't do blank, our future's threatened. Once you know those 3 or 4 things, you kind of title them like, man, I got to, whatever. Someone might say, I got to develop leaders. I have to be the chief strategist. I've got to be raising funds. Whatever it is that you put there, the top 3 or 4, then you put inside of those lanes the activities you have to do to get that result. Everything else that doesn't fit in those lanes, you eliminate, delegate, or automate. So you're trying to figure out the top 3 or 4 things, put in the activities that go under those 3 or 4 things. Whatever is left over, as much as you can, I'm not saying it'll be perfect, but as much as you can, you eliminate and delegate and automate. And so when you ask the question, hey, what do I delegate or what do I give away? If it doesn't fit inside of your mission critical, let's see if we can get someone else to do it. And let's see if we can't delegate, or it doesn't need to be done at all. It might just need to be eliminated. Or it's like, why are we doing that? Mission critical is huge. And as you continue to grow, sometimes that mission critical might change a little bit, might tweak a little bit as you continue to grow. But that's how I would answer that question rather than you need rest and you need a day off. All that's important. Don't get me wrong.
Sure.
But I think you have to back up from all of that and say, okay, first and foremost, mission critical. What do I need to do?
Good.
Yeah.
I know one thing I struggle with at times, just knowing myself, is I can have a little like leadership ADD. And so focusing on mission critical, and then all of a sudden something from the whirlwind of the week. This morning I had 3 calls, took a few hours of my time and a meeting. And I'm just like, man, there's a lot of things that kind of pop up and come up. And so is there a way that you've seen just great leaders are able to just find that mission critical and really just pursue that without some of those other things?
Well, when your church plant, you're 2 years old as a church and you're continuing to grow, it's a very interesting dichotomy as you continue to grow, because here's what happens is as you continue to grow, the structure changes, where you're spending time changes, how you're spending that time changes. All that starts to change if you want to grow. If you don't change those things, then you definitely are going to be keeping yourself at a lid. And that gets really, really difficult, because it's like, man, I want to spend 2 hours doing this, or I got caught up with 2 hours doing this. I got caught up with 2 hours doing that. 1, you're going to have to change. 2, you're going to always struggle with people, and here's the important part, who will always view your church as the size in which they first came.
Yeah.
So, hey, we're a church of 500, but when he came, we were 75. Well, now it's different. It's totally different now. And so you don't have the luxury of doing the things you used to do when you were 75. Now you're 500. And so you don't have that luxury of doing those things. So that changes things. So I do think that you have to look at things like that. You have to look at like, man, do I need to change? Where I spend time need to change? Do my structure need to change? When structure changes, right now it's everybody answers to you. And then eventually it's like, well, no, we're going to lay another layer in. I'm going to have 2 executive leaders, and then they're going to answer to them. Now, all of a sudden, that 2-hour phone call or that 2-hour stuff starts going in at a lower level and starts hitting into these areas. So you're having more of the fine-tuned thing. And that is again, you have to be aware that structure is going to change. You have to be aware that people are always going to view the church as the size in which they first came.
Yeah.
and you're going to have to as much eliminate and delegate. And the power of no is as strong, if not stronger, than the power of yes.
Mm.
I can't do that. I can't be a
Yeah.
part of that. You know, it's funny because when you look throughout the New Testament, or really, I'm sorry, throughout the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, stories of Jesus, the life of Jesus, I think it only says he ate, what, 2 or 3 times? Well, clearly he had to eat a lot more than that because he was flesh, you know? He was us.
Right.
So he had to eat a lot more than that. But just as it says, doesn't say he didn't eat that many times, doesn't mean he didn't eat that many times.
True.
Same thing now. It's like, how many times did Jesus have to say no
Mm.
that are not recorded in the Bible? Because he was bound to 24 hours like us.
Right.
No, I can't go and pray for that person. No, I can't go and visit that person. No, I can't go be a part of that thing. He was bound to 24 hours.
Right.
So he had to make choices.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we have to do the same thing. And it's hard. One
Yeah.
thing I've learned, man, is the urgent is seldom important, and the important is seldom urgent.
That's
So
good.
it's like, yeah, oh man, it's urgent, it's urgent. It's like the urgent is seldom important. It's like, no, we're making it urgent. We're winding it up in our head. The important is seldom urgent, meaning the important is I keep doing the right things day after day after day, and I'm staying in my lanes. There's not a sense of urgency because every day I'm pushing the ball forward. I'm not freaking out. I'm not, oh my gosh, the world's falling apart. I don't have to do that because I'm just the urgent, the important is seldom urgent. I'm just doing the right things day by day. So just know your structure is going to change. Just know that if you want to go from here to here, who answers to who, who's accountable to who, lines of authority, that changes. And that usually when that changes, that starts limiting the extra things that people are grabbing your time for. Right now, it all starts with you and ends with you.
Yeah.
But you got to slowly start letting that go.
Yeah.
And
good.
One thing I always tell people, man, if everything has to pass through your desk, then you'll only lead things that are small.
That's good.
You can't. You have to get to a point where things are not like, I don't even know what's going on there,
Yeah.
because you're moving up and you're delegating, moving up
Yeah.
and delegating. You're empowering your leaders to lead other things.
That's good.
You'll become the lid if you don't.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's good, Chris. As you do that, like in maybe our setting, what do you think is a really smart or strategic next hire, next person, next level? We're kind of at that spot where we're kind of looking for a person that can fulfill that role. And so I'm just been wondering, is it worship, creative? Is it, you know?
Yeah. Well, I can tell you the roles that as you grow, I can tell you the roles that I find important. I think the obvious ones are children in worship. I mean, you're not going to function on a Sunday without it.
Right.
A lot of people would go to youth. I think you can volunteer that out and start in groups at times. But I think that 2 areas that I start thinking about is assimilation. It's got to have a lot of attention. What is the speed by which we engage people? Who's monitoring that? Who's moving people from left to right? Who's getting people plugged into the life of the church?
Yeah.
Who's knowing, okay, the average person comes to our church, takes 6 months to get involved, let's get it down to 2 months.
Yeah.
Someone that is so focused, because the more, you've heard me talk about this a million times, the more we do speed of engagement, the faster the church grows, the more we solidify people's sense of responsibility and ownership to the church. Assimilation's a big one. As you continue to grow, maybe it's not today, but as you continue to grow, I think you start looking for a version of an executive pastor. I don't know if I would give away that title right away. Like I'm working with a church right now that's, I don't know, 700-800. I personally am doing the executive coaching for them.
Yeah.
They don't have the finances. They're way past due of having an executive pastor. He doesn't have one. But he has a guy that's pretty strong on the team. I said, well, what if we give away an element? Don't give away the title, but giving away an element of executive pastor.
Yeah.
So what would that element be? As you grow, I think assimilation is a big part of it. As you grow, maybe it's not, full-blown executive pastor. Maybe it's taking someone that says, okay, I will meet with the staff one-on-one every other week. I will hold them accountable. I will help them get to that next. Look, you're trying to get 10 more leaders in the next 2 months. I'll help them get there. You're trying to grow your ministry in this area. I'll help them get there. In other words, he or she looks at themselves as a coach and says, these 5 people, this 5 staff members, my job isn't, I'm not authority. I'm not going to fire them. My job is to meet with them every other week and make sure that we are continually making progress and holding their feet to the fire on that progress. It's not everything an executive pastor could do, but it's part of what an executive pastor could do. I don't think you're at a point where you can maybe you have tons of money. I don't know, but you're spending a ton of money on an executive. I just don't think that's necessary. But a piece of the executive pastor role,
Sure.
from someone that's already at the church or someone you've been considering,
Yeah.
I think that would be amazing. You're the voice. You're the let's lead the staff. You're the one that comes in and talks about leadership. Maybe do once a month leadership, whatever you do.
Yeah.
But that accountability, that sort of, coach that's just getting them in better in shape and moving them along. It's like the coach of a baseball team. I love baseball. It's like, he's not going into the gym and making sure they're working out. He's got a whole different team doing that. He's just making sure the team's going in the right direction. He's not worried. He's not dealing with this. You got to get someone that says, I'm going to help each one of these staff members move. I'm going to meet with them every other week, knowing how many leaders they're raising, how many volunteers they're recruiting, what systems they need to put in place, what strategy they need to put in place. I'm going to keep moving them down the field. That's what I would look at. Assimilation and a piece of the executive pastor role.
Ooh, come on, that's good. And just start giving some of those responsibilities without necessarily the title.
Yes, absolutely. You can call them project manager. You can call them, staff development coordinator. You can call whatever. Just make up a name. It doesn't matter. I would not give away executive pastor yet at where you're at.
Right.
But a piece of it, and then you just tell the staff, look, man, I'm going to continue to do this, but Bob over here, he's going to help you with, and he's going to keep you moving along. He's going to meet with you every other week. He's going to know what your objectives are. I would break everybody's objective down into the 12-week year, which is 90 days. I would do objectives by every 90 days or every 12 weeks.
Okay.
What is Susie trying to get done in the next 12 weeks? Now I'm going to hold her accountable for that for every other week. Then at the end of that 12 weeks, we set out another group of initiatives. Then I'm going to hold her accountable for that 12 weeks. We're not talking about a whole year. We're talking in 12 weeks, what do we need to get done? And then I'm going to hold you accountable to that. Then the next 12 weeks, what do we need to get done? And I'm going to hold you accountable to that. That's what I would have them do.
Come on. That's good stuff, Chris.
Yeah, that's what I would do. So those are the kind of hires, or maybe hires in the wrong word, but those are the focuses that I would focus on. And I think you'll find a lot of value to as you kind of get to that next level.
Yeah.
So
love it.
Yeah. What else you got, man?
Hey, that to me is a big game changer for me, was even just putting language to the leadership world. I think once you understand and comprehend, and you just have a gift of it, I'm going through your traction teaching right now, and I'm going to take my directors through it, right? Because you bring language to leadership, but just the mission critical, identifying those lanes, and then the automate, delegate, and
eliminate, delegate.
Yeah. Eliminate is the big one. Well, you were saying that
for sure.
There are things I need to eliminate right now. And that's just kind of a game changer for me right now, because that's my world, just thinking through, and I need to think higher and run better and faster. So,
well, in Traction, it does talk about mission critical. So go and find that in that book. It'll talk all about mission critical, and walk through that exercise. It's a game changer when RJ has to spend his 70% of his time is the goal on these 3 to 4 areas. And doesn't mean that you don't have 30 extra percent doing stuff you like to do or stuff you get pulled off to do, but you got to be able to say at the end of a 40-hour work week, I spent 28 hours in these 3 lanes.
Yeah. Wow.
And
really good.
Once you figure out those lanes, just imagine, what if I was just crushing it in these lanes? Whoa. What would that do for the church?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's what I'd focus on. But anything else, man? Are we good?
Man, that was great. I'm great.
Awesome. Well, dude, whatever I can do for you, let me know. Thank you again for helping to coach the churches that in our rescue initiative. And just thanks for all you do, man. You're amazing. Appreciate you so
I
much.
love it. Love being a part.
All right, dude. Have a good day, man.
Yeah,
Okay.
you too.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Man, I hope that you really enjoyed today's conversation with RJ. I thought there was so much incredible things that we talked about that's helpful for all of us in ministry and leadership. I want to remind you at the beginning, we talked about the coaching certification program. If you have not checked that out yet, go do that at churchboom.org. If you ever thought about being a coach, it could be a second income for you, a second chapter for you. It is cost effective. It is practical. It helps you help others grow churches. It's an amazing program. So many people are having success with it. So check that out, our Church Boom coaching certification. And we will see you next time on the Fly on the Wall podcast.